Hi, my name is Michelle and I talk books. Thank you so much for watching. Today we are talking about Jodi Picoult's Picoult. I never know how to say her name. I hear it so many different ways. So Jodi Picoult, let's say Picoult. Her newest book, The Book of Two Ways. It came out September 22nd. And I was not going to do like an individual book review on this book. I don't do those a lot now. I kind of do a lot of books at one time just to save time. But when I saw that this hit the New York Times #1 spot, first week out, and I was right at the end of finishing it, I'm like, yes, I'm going to do a video on this. Some books are just worthy of a video all by themselves. There's so much to talk about. And with this one, there is so much to talk about. And I'm going to help you with this book. You know why it needs help? First of all, it's 432 pages. Second of all, it's called women's fiction. In reality, it isn't one of those women's fiction books that you think you're just gonna sit back and enjoy and read and it's gonna be fun and not a lot of ups and downs and twists and turns. That is not this book. You can't say it's historical fiction. What she did was take facts of Egyptology and weave it into this book. I listened to an interview that she had done on it, and she said that she had been thinking about this book for a long time before she actually did it. I think this book took so much research, and I just want to give her like a standing ovation for her research. Everywhere in this book, she had to do research. So much to unpack. I've never read one of her books, so I was like, wow, she is amazing. I was blown away by her writing, by her facts, and how she wove this in. This comes with a little warning for everyone. This is a heavy book. It's got heavy topics. There is a lot about death. So much I learned about death, but we'll get into that in a second. There are a lot of facts. If you're like, I don't want to learn about Egypt, I don't want to learn about Egyptian tombs. If you don't want to, this is probably not the book for you. Every bad review I read about this book just today, before I was getting ready to do this, was I didn't want to take a history lesson. If you don't want to take a history lesson, this is not the book for you. But for someone like me who wants to take a history lesson, who was like, yes, I don't know anything about Egypt, please tell me. I want to know. I was thrilled and I enjoyed it so much. I read it. I listened to it. The story hooked me. It is a love triangle. For those of us who have ever been in a love triangle at any point in your life, you are going to connect with her. The main character, I loved her so much, Dawn. You will connect with Dawn in so many ways. You will feel her pain. I thought Jodi did a great job of letting us into her head, feeling like we were not just her best friend, but we were her, and we were going through the struggles that she had with her. But I'm going to give you some facts, and I'm going to put them on the screen, and this is going to help you. If you have not read this book, I'm going to help you. As I was putting this together and doing this kind of timeline about the book, I was like, I wish I would have known some of this stuff. It would have helped. It would have helped along the way a little bit in case you got a little bit confused on where Dawn is. There are two timelines, two places. They go back and forth a lot. There were times that I was like, wait, and I would back it up, or I'd go back pages and I'd be like, wait, where am I? Don't let that make you hate this book. It is so good. I could cry right now. That's how good it is. The ending, I was in tears. I mean, so many times along the way, she had me. Don't let that distract you. Maybe you'll want to refer back to this as you're reading this book. When I see people doing reviews of books without notes, I'm like, how do they do that? Maybe they're, you know what, they're younger. Okay, I'm old. I can't remember this stuff. And I don't have cue cards or, anything like that going on. I got my notes that I write while I'm reading. #1, Dawn McDowell. We get to know her right off the start. She is a PhD candidate in the Yale Egyptology program. That's her gig. That's why we're learning about Egypt. She meets Wyatt Armstrong, who is a fellow graduate student. While in Egypt, they discover a tomb. In that tomb, there is depiction. I want to say book. It's called The Book of Two Ways. It depicts two paths to the afterlife. We have an upper water path, and then we have the lower land path, which confused me at first because I was like, water, doesn't matter. Just accept it. That's what I did. So Jodi divides her chapters and timelines: water, Boston, land, Egypt, which makes you wonder if the lower is the land and Egypt, that's the lower path, and then the upper is Boston. So I don't know. Does that mean something? I don't want to give anything away. It may mean something. We are not going to put it past Jodi if that means something. Dawn and Wyatt fall in love. It's awesome. It's an awesome love story. Dawn then gets a call. Her mom's in hospice back in Boston, and she has to go back there. Her mom's dying of ovarian cancer, and she has a little brother that she gets custody of. So she leaves. They have a goodbye. She leaves. None of these are spoilers. Remember, these are helpful tips. I am not giving spoilers to this book. She meets BRYAN, EDELSTEIN, who is a physicist. And we even get some of his knowledge in this book, being a physicist, which really is crazy the way Jodi did that. I love that. She finds out she's pregnant. She's giving birth to her daughter, and he asks her to marry him. She has her daughter, and she becomes a death doula. For any one of you who have ever experienced a parent specifically, and maybe a grandparent, dying from cancer. I had both my parents die from cancer, but my mom, I got to experience one-on-one with her. After she died and having to go through hospice, I really thought that I did want to work with hospice, but then I didn't like some of the things that they were and weren't allowed to do. And then she's a death doula, so she gets to do the things, they pay her to do the things that hospice can't do. I love that, and it makes me want to be that now. Here in my life at 50, almost 56 years old this month. And I'm like, I could be a death doula because I really enjoyed the experience. And I know enjoyed is a tough word when you're watching your parent die. There were things I learned about death watching her die. And I was 47 when she died. Wow, does Jodi go into death and in a really awesome way. Don't be put off by that. You learn more about the days and hours before someone dies who dies a slow death than I've ever heard. And I wish I would have known because it was so cool. If I have to say that is what is the favorite part about this book, that would be it, is how much I learned, not just about Egypt, not just about that stuff, but about death in a very cool, I want to say cool way. Because she goes back to Boston and she gets this life. She gets married. She has a daughter. Merritt, she becomes a death doula, never tells Wyatt. So he's like, okay. And of course, let's suspend any kind of like texting or anything like that. She just doesn't tell him. She disappears. He goes on with his life. But the book begins 15 years after that. So her daughter is like 14. She survives a plane crash. She's a near-death experience, and that's it. That's all I'm going to tell you. But that's helpful stuff. Trust me, you will go back. You will thank me. While you're reading this, you're going to be like, oh, because some of it going back and forth, you're not sure of that timeline. Knowing that timeline is going to help you tremendously with this book. I would say if I had to like sum this book up, I don't need my notes anymore. If I had to sum this book up, I would say it's about love. It's about loss. It's about death. It's about life. That's why it's #1 on the New York Times bestseller. Because those of us who finished it and enjoyed it, and we were like, when it ended, we were like, oh, I have to go on with my life now. I was invested in that book. I have a pile of books I have to read in October, and it's already the 4th. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to get to these other books. But it's a book you can't put it down easily, which is a criteria to be a 5-star book review for me, is you can't put it down and walk away and forget about it. You just can't. You carry it with you. I don't know if there'll be a time when you won't mention that book and I'll get teary-eyed. I think it's going to happen for a very, very long time. That's my book review. I think you're going to love it. Please let me know if you read it, if you're going to read it, and then I want to know after you've read it what you thought. I had a really fun time reading reviews from people who loved it as much as I did, and then kind of a hard time with people who didn't. And I wanted to explain it to them, which I always do. But I think, you know what? I can explain this. I can tell you why you didn't enjoy this book, and I can get you to read it again and enjoy it. Set aside the Egypt stuff and enjoy it for the story that Jodi tells. Thank you so much for watching. I can't wait to hear what you're going to say. You can find me on Instagram. I have lots of chats on Instagram about books. I'm finding that community to be awesome. A lot of times people don't like to leave comments, and if that is you, don't leave a comment. Come over to Instagram. Come join the fun over at Instagram. We book people love Instagram. Please hit like if you enjoyed this. Please subscribe because it makes me so happy. Until my next video.